The series begins with Berlin standing on his yacht, looking out full of hope. He goes out to his scam artist teammate Damian to share a moment of contemplation over ruining people's lives. Truth be told, they made a great team. While on the boat, Damian says, "Berlin, I have an amazing idea. Let's rob bank safety deposit boxes. But not just any banks. These belong to the richest people in the world." He keeps rambling for a good while, and the conversation goes on for days. They change multiple locations and outfits, and throughout the entire sitting, Berlin is just listening until he finally has enough. He asks him, "Can you guarantee me that these banks hold more than 15 million euros? But as always, Berlin has a better plan. He goes to a party to hit on a beautiful woman, who is wealthy, of course, which he notices from the jewelry she's wearing. Sure enough, his eyes lock onto the prey. Before he goes over to lock things down with her, he involves Damian in a quick, minor scam on a retired 50-something-year-old woman. Meanwhile, Berlin's prey approaches him with steady steps. Before a single word is exchanged between them, her necklace drops to the ground, and every single bead scatters. Berlin bends down to help her gather them, knowing she won't find anyone better to look after her things. He even puts it back on her. Just as he is about to get to know her better, she informs him that she has to leave exactly at 10 o'clock. He walks her to her car, and that's when he tells her, "You live in the most beautiful city." Surprised, she asks, "Oh, how do you know me?" Here, Berlin plays the long game, replying, "Every time I pass by the palace, I stand mesmerized by its facade, daydreaming for hours and days." In a split second, he gets exactly what he wants. She tells him, "Well, come over to my place for dinner so we can count the beads of the necklace." After they set a date together, which is a week later, or rather 2 weeks, under the pretext that he is traveling and busy, just so she doesn't get suspicious, he stands with Damian. Berlin asks him, "So, what did you do with that woman with the fake teeth you were with?" He then alerts him that the woman who just left is the millionaire they are going to rob. The promised day arrives, the day that will flip his entire plan upside down. He enters the palace and finds her waiting for him. Calmly, he says, "Please, this is a small token for you." She turns out to be very elegant, accepts it gracefully, and says, "Come with me." He follows her, feeling surprised by her walk. Where did all that gentleness go? She explains to him, "No, this is my office walk." Suddenly, she opens the office door, and Berlin stands frozen in his tracks. We all discover the shocking surprise. Her husband, the Duke. The moment he sees Berlin, he says, "I've been waiting for you for a while. My wife told me you really love my palace, and I wanted you to see more of it from the inside." Berlin glances out of the corner of his eye at her and replies, "Oh, of course. And who wouldn't love the blue design?" She leaves them, and Berlin sits down with the Duke. Throughout their conversation, the Duke keeps telling him, "I've heard so many great things about you, which is why I admire you so much." "No, really, I admire you." When Berlin asks, "And who did you hear about me from?" the Duke reminds him of the past and his famous old heist. Anyway, the Duke starts hinting, "I didn't bring you here to blackmail you at all. I'm telling you, I admire you, and out of my sheer admiration, I couldn't think of anyone else to execute this mission for me. Da Vinci's painting. I want Leonardo da Vinci's painting." The moment Berlin hears the name, all the information he knows about it floods his mind. The Duke continues, telling him that the painting is coming to their city for a special exhibition. He asks him, "Honestly, is it right for the painting closest to my heart to be so near and not be mine?" Berlin laughs instead of getting killed. After all, he is in a den of snakes. The moment he walks out, he starts cursing. Damian is waiting for him, trying to calm him down. Every time they look back, they see the guard with 2 dogs that are almost the size of horses. But because Berlin is so upset, he isn't paying attention and keeps walking, muttering about how that son of a gun sent his hot wife as bait. To be honest, Damian doesn't understand why he's so angry. It's not like he was an accountant at a bank. He's a thief. At that point, Berlin clarifies, "I steal on my own terms, with my own art, but nobody hires me." He remains determined to get his payback. Later, they sit together, and Damian calms him down, asking, "So, what are you going to do?" Berlin explains, saying, "Look, isn't robbing a thief completely fair game? In short, I'm going to rob what he stole, and I'll take everything he owns. We were looking for someone to rob, and he brought me into his house himself. Plus, he won't be able to report us because what we're going to steal doesn't legally belong to him. He's a corrupt man." He explains to him, "We will agree to his terms, and then we steal what we stole. Damian goes to call the rest of the gang. While he is sitting there fanning himself, he suddenly notices things being thrown out of a building window by a woman. Right then, a connection sparks in Berlin's eyes just from seeing her in a red robe. Even though she is roughing up her boyfriend and kicking him out of the house, Berlin feels like she is exactly his type. She walks down to finish off her boyfriend, turns around, and finds Berlin right in front of her. He tries to be sweet and charming with her, but she can't stand herself to begin with. After she leaves, Damian comes over, and that's when we learn from Berlin that she just robbed him. Recounting the story with total simplicity, he says, "See that beautiful woman? She robbed me with the utmost gentleness. I didn't feel her hands at all as she took my wallet." Damian asks him how much was in it, and when he finds out it was 700 euros, he looks at him like, "Are you sane? Or did you pull off a new heist behind our backs?" Berlin continues, "Yes, because what I love most is art, and sleight of hand is the finest art." Damian laughs, knowing for sure that Berlin will go back to her to get to know her, and while he's at it, get his wallet back. The guy is a smooth operator. We then see the rest of the gang. Berlin narrates that during their last heist, the one the Duke just threatened him with, Bruce took a huge liking to Kayla. They started getting closer day after day until he finally decided to leave his chaotic lifestyle behind and settle down. He threw a bachelor party to announce his marriage to Kayla, but the shocker is that on the very same night, Kayla looks back and freezes the moment she sees a green-eyed young man, even though Fadwa had assured her that nothing good ever comes from a green-eyed guy. As for Roy, he was originally with his girlfriend Cameron, who is also one of the gang members. But for no apparent reason, their relationship grew cold and they decided to call it quits. Finally, the Forbidden Love gang gathers around one table under the banner of betrayal and apathy. Damian begins introducing them to their operation and what they are required to steal, displaying Leonardo da Vinci's painting. After Damian literally gets hoarse from explaining and their hands swell from writing, Berlin takes the remote from him and says, "All right, you're done. Forget all of this, because we aren't stealing it." They wipe away everything they wrote, and he begins to familiarize them more with what they are actually going to steal, the Duke's assets. He explains to them that the Duke is an aristocrat and that his palace spans over 8,000 square meters of gardens, including cave-like areas where he breeds bulls, as well as wine cellars. Because the property is so massive, he even built a church inside it. Roy wonders why a man this wealthy would want them to steal something for him in the first place. At that moment, we flash back to when Berlin asked the Duke the exact same question. The Duke's response was a sarcastic laugh, as if to say, how could he ask about something that doesn't concern him? He assured him it was to be the jewel of his collection, hinting that he would never let him know the location of the rest of the collection. Returning to the present, Berlin alerts them, "This very collection is our main target." Suddenly, they are all shocked. When he finishes speaking, he reveals that he doesn't even know what this collection contains. At that point, Damian loses his temper and asks, "So you refuse to rob the bank just to steal something unknown, all because he sent his wife to play you like a fiddle?" Of course, Berlin is a role model, so how could Damian say that to him in front of his team? Feeling like he looks weak in front of them, Berlin decides to expose Damian, saying, "Well, at least the one who played me was the Duke's wife, unlike someone who gets played by every Tom, Dick, and Harry." After a long, massive argument, they decide to pull themselves together a bit. Berlin gives them a choice. Come with him to steal the unknown, or go with Damian. They all look at each other in astonishment, and even Damian says he will go with him to see how this whole thing ends. Later, Berlin takes Roy with him under the pretext of testing his abilities. He makes him pick the apartment door completely silently, and immediately after, slams it in his face, basically saying, "Goodbye. You've served your purpose." He walks up to the apartment door of the girl who had treated her boyfriend like a doormat that morning and stolen Berlin's wallet. Even though she is asleep, in a split second she vanishes from the bed, stands before him, and fires 2 bullets into his chest. He collapses to the floor. As she approaches him, finding him taking his last breaths, she tells him, "Are you playing dead on me? These are just hunting pellets." She treats his wound, and he learns her name is Candela. Meanwhile, she explains to him that she thought he was her ex-boyfriend, who had previously come to rob her because he knew she hid money in her shoebox. When Berlin offers to take her out to dinner, She refuses because she has a very important errand.
So he forces himself into the trip with her.
On the way, she pulls the car into a gas station, and that's when Berlin discovers she stole the car, noticing the hot-wired ignition switch. She comes out of the gas station carrying a bucket full of gasoline. They head to her ex's caravan. At first, she acts polite and calls out to him, but when he doesn't answer, she decides to handle it her way. She blocks the door with wood and pours gasoline everywhere, all just to ask him if he really cheated on her with her cousin. When he answers from behind the door saying no, she decides she needs to see his eyes. She smashes a part of the caravan to look into his eyes and finds that he was indeed lying. He really did cheat on her with her cousin, but he swears to her that he loves her. After the fire spreads everywhere and his friends can't defend him, she commands him never to come near her again, leaves him, and walks away, her heart shattered into a million pieces. Throughout all of this, Berlin is waiting for her in the car, smiling widely because this is exactly his taste. She drives the car, and on the way, they pass by a police checkpoint. It is clear that Candela is used to this, because with complete emotional stability, she handles the situation normally. However, unluckily for her, the car has been reported stolen. Berlin decides to help her his way, asking her to switch seats so he can drive. He flies away from the police cars, and for the first time, Candela feels truly terrified, more scared of him than of the police. In the end, he manages to escape and lose the police, leaving Candela completely relieved. On the other hand, we see Bruce with Kayla. Right when he is encouraging her and making her feel like she is the only one in his heart, her phone rings. It's her cheating, man-eating lover, whom she has saved under the name Mom. Bruce tells her, "Go ahead, girl. Answer her so she doesn't worry about you." After she steps out, she answers her lover, completely immersed in the conversation, unaware that Roy is sitting behind her listening. She tries to explain to him that she isn't a cheater, she just doesn't know what she's doing. But Roy lets her say her piece and then draws her attention, saying, "You know exactly what you're doing. If what you're doing weren't wrong, you would have saved him under his real name. But you know your mistake, and you know you're cheating on Bruce, which is why you changed his name. Plus, the inappropriate things I heard you say to him on the phone don't look like a passing whim at all. Reconsider your actions, because Bruce doesn't deserve this from you." The morning comes, and Berlin arrives looking disheveled, with blood on his shirt where the 2 pellets hit him. He tells them how much he admires Candela because she is spectacular by all metrics. Everyone sitting there feels embarrassed for him. After spending half the day talking about her, he finally decides to focus on his livelihood. He orders them to monitor the palace and find any loophole to break in. To make this mission easier, Damian brings them a drone shaped like an eagle, operated by Kayla, who can control it from a distance with utter simplicity. But before they can find the location of a ventilation shaft or any basement, they notice electrical wires that instantly eliminate any passing animals from a distance. That's because no human would even think of approaching them. Finally, they manage to find the ventilation shaft, and on another side, they spot a dome. From this, they know that this is precisely the place where he keeps the rare collection. Just as they are all about to celebrate that Berlin's words turned out to be right, they are startled when the camera drops and they lose control of it. Suddenly, they hear the sound of a bull, and it is clear that it knocked it down. For context, these bulls were raised by specialists and trained to be fierce. Berlin stands there not knowing what to do or how to act until he tells them they have to go in. There's no time. Keela and Bruce go down to find it. The first thing Bruce does is cut the power to the wires. Then he cuts them and sneaks in so the alarm doesn't catch them either. Meanwhile, Berlin says to Roy and his girlfriend, "Do you know why I agreed for Keela to be the one to go down for this mission? To leave you two to face all the pressure and responsibility alone. Maybe you'll snap out of it and feel the value of the feelings you threw away." Two 25-year-olds who have money and love each other, suddenly breaking up over trivialities. Meanwhile, Keela and Bruce are in a completely different world. They finally find the camera, and just as she is about to grab it, a truck loaded with dogs approaches them. The driver gets out and asks them what they are doing here, stating it's private property. Bruce replies, "Oh, sorry, my girlfriend really wanted to see the bulls, and while she was walking, her leg got twisted." Even though he is skilled at acting, the man doesn't buy it at all. He gets closer to see what's up with this twisted leg of hers and whistles for the bulls, making them approach to terrify them even more. Bruce is horrified, and Keela can barely catch her breath, especially since he bends down to her leg and alerts her. "Oh, indeed, your leg is in very bad shape. I must take you to the hospital immediately." He takes her with him into the truck and tells Bruce to ride in the back with the dogs. Of course, there's no room, so Bruce tries to open the door for his girlfriend and finds it locked. Here, he confirms that the man has figured them out and that his girlfriend is being kidnapped right before his eyes. He tries to open the door until he breaks the glass. The man gets out and threatens him with his shotgun. Bruce tries to use his wits and tells him that he won't be able to shoot him, but the man shocks us all when he shoots Bruce in the leg. At that moment, Bruce confesses to him that they are here to access the Duke's private basement. In a split second, the man is sent flying because Keela rams him with the truck she was held in. The shotgun falls from his hand, and for a few seconds, he and Bruce compete over who will grab it first. It falls to Bruce, who fires a shot at the man's face, knocking him unconscious. They intend to flee and leave him, but Bruce says, "That won't work," I confess to him. "He has to come with us." They actually take him with them in the dog enclosure and return to Berlin and the rest. Before Berlin even looks at his face, he asks them to tie him up first and take his possessions. Right when everyone is at their wits' end, Berlin smiles and tells them, "Now we have another opportunity to rob them tonight." At that point, Damien loses his temper and asks him, "Rob them tonight? How? Just to get the camera back, we came back with a casualty." Berlin shocks him then with the equipment bag he has, alerting him that there's no time left and tonight is the most suitable night. This upsets Damien even more, meaning his plan is now to eliminate anyone who crosses their path. But Berlin surprises him, saying he is mistaken. They will enter through the main door using the magnetic keys he has, which open any property. Miraculously, amidst all of this, he thinks of the team's interest and distributes the roles so that Roy and Cameron stay together to watch over the man, who also needs medical attention because he took a shot to the face. Even though it's a hunting pellet, they still want him alive. He approaches Roy and tells him, "When you feel you are in danger, it will bring you closer together. I really want to know what happened between you two." They actually start the mission. On the way, Keela's conscience pricks her, and she confesses everything to Bruce. Like anyone in his place, he is shocked because he loves her and is very loyal to her, but she turned out to be trash from a trash upbringing. Damien cuts them off, saying, "Hey guys, I can hear everything. Behave yourselves a bit."
They actually arrive at the location and start preparing to go down through the large ventilation shaft. Berlin tests it and finds it at a height of over 40 meters, assuring them that the Duke has made the mission very difficult for them. But they still go down normally, fearing nothing in the world. First, Berlin goes down, followed by Damien, then Bruce and Keela. Suddenly, Bruce stops and doesn't go down. Everyone gets startled, especially Keela, who keeps calling out to him asking if something happened. But he climbs back up to her and asks, "How many times did he hold your hand?" At that point, Berlin calls out to him, warning that if he doesn't come down to them, Berlin will report them to the police himself and be done with it. We see them spraying smoke to detect if there are any lasers present. When we flash back in time, we see that Keela had informed them of all these details and agreed on them. Meanwhile, Roy and Cameron continue their guard duty normally. Roy gets very jealous the moment he finds her approaching the guard to change his dressing. Suddenly, the guard snaps awake, grabs her by her head, and her hair is between his teeth. She keeps calling out to Roy to shoot him and save her, but he hesitates, not wanting him to die so Berlin won't yell at him. In the end, he frees her from his grip and delivers a blow that knocks him out again. This makes Cameron furious at him, and she asks, "How could you not eliminate him immediately? Are we missing complications, my love? If the Berlin you're so scared of were here, he would have pumped 100 bullets into him by now." No matter how he justifies it, she doesn't listen, walks up to the top of the boat, and leaves him. During their discussion, the guard manages to untie himself, but doesn't show Roy anything. He just seizes the opportunity and tries to drive a wedge between them and annoy him, saying, "Of course she has to boss you around. You're only good at picking on me." Roy actually loses his temper, hits him, and goes up to her. She is breaking down, and he asks her, "Don't lie to yourself. You still love me, and I love you too. Why should we leave each other?" Why don't we try one more time? He tries to convince her and makes her imagine how their life together would look, being so happy. But suddenly, she snaps out of her imagination and explains to him, "I won't risk breaking my heart again. Enough with what you did to me when I gave you a chance last time." She leaves the boat entirely and tells him to inform Berlin that she is withdrawing. Until now, nobody knows what actually happened between them in Gamasa. Anyway, we leave them now and return to Berlin and the rest of the team, who are already preparing to enter the secret room. But Keela stops them at the right moment and conducts a smoke test to check for the presence of lasers. We discover that the Duke has packed every single centimeter with deadly laser beams. They decide, of course, to resort to Keela's idea, which is to disable just one beam out of this entire grid, so they can enter and turn it off from the inside. Right when she is intensely focused, Berlin comes over acting like a contractor offering tea, but when he sees her focusing, he says, "All right, I won't open my mouth." By the time Roy discovers that the guard has escaped, Keela has finally managed to disable one of the laser lines. Berlin passes through it with utmost agility, but at the last moment, she is the one who notices that Berlin's shoelace was about to hit the second line. He steps through completely calmly, takes off his shoes in annoyance and says, "I never imagined the day would come when I'd have to take off my shoes like a common carnival thief." Damian's eyes forget that Keela is a man-eater, and he says to Bruce, "This girlfriend of yours is so smart," but it feels like he stabbed Bruce right in the heart. Finally, Berlin enters by himself, loses track of time looking at the paintings, becomes mesmerized, and can't believe his eyes. The most famous paintings in the world. He sits there as if he's in his own living room until Damian enters and asks him, "So, should we order you an iced coffee? Or bring you wine and women?" The shock comes when Berlin tells them he changed his mind and won't steal the paintings because these are the heritage of his country and many other countries, and a true artist shouldn't destroy art. A minor argument ensues between him and Damian as they whisper yell at each other, while Bruce and Keela stand there fearing any stupid reaction that could ruin everything. When Berlin notices this, he explains to Damian that he has an idea 1,000,000 times better than this, but Damian must trust him.
Immediately, he calls the Duke and tells him, "I am currently in your secret room with the rest of your paintings. Come over, let us buy you a drink, me and the boys." The Duke goes down, while his wife vows that she will make his life a living hell. She breaks down the moment he leaves her because she always feels that a painting is more important to him than she is. As for Roy, the guard managed to tie him up, put him in a cage, and throw him into the sea. Underwater, Roy tries to pick the cage lock using his belt. He struggles until he finally makes it out, but only after the guard has already spoken with the Duke, who informed him that a misunderstanding occurred and that Berlin and his men are now guests of the palace, and what's between them is mutual. However, the guard finds Cameron's gun pressed against the back of his neck, threatening him not to move from his spot. Meanwhile, the Duke turns out to be truly obsessed with the paintings, recounting how much they mean to him as a way of life and something truly massive, just as his wife said. Even the look in his eyes is terrifying as he exhibits a morbid fixation, not on his wife. He sits down to negotiate his demands with Berlin, but in the middle of their agreement, he gets a call from Roy confirming that security is maintained, and they release the guard. The men enter into negotiations with the Duke, stating that the painting he wants will cost 35 million. Berlin and Damian justify why it's such a huge amount, but the Duke asks them, "Have you seen me? Is the amount suitable?" Berlin then proceeds with his plan, stating that he wants 4 or 5 million in cash up front first, specifying that the notes must be non-sequential €100 bills. On this basis, their agreement is concluded, but what was hidden was greater, because what's coming is much deeper. Someone like him, naturally ready to pay all these sums for a painting, must surely have millions in his safe, no less than 400 million. The great thing is that Berlin, despite being busy being a world-class thief, remains interested in knowing what happened between Roy and Cameron in Gamasa. From here, they recount to him that unfortunately, while Cameron was with Roy, one night they were together in her apartment when suddenly her ex-boyfriend showed up. She broke down and kept crying hysterically, telling Roy that the ex wouldn't leave unless one of them went down to face him. She asked Roy to go down, but he told her, "No, Cameron, you are strong. You must go down yourself so you can trust in yourself and free yourself from your love for him." She went down to him, and from that moment she didn't return until after midnight, telling Roy, "Do you like this now? I told you don't make me drawn to vice, yet you encouraged me." She returns to the present, blaming him and accusing him of making her go down just to see if she still loved the ex or not. Miraculously, he confirmed it. Berlin, thinking to himself, wishes he had never asked. Damian goes to receive the money along with Bruce, following the plan that Kayla had alerted them to. Hold every stack and remove the wrapping from it so it looks like they shuffled through them. After they count the 4 million, plus an extra stack that they return under the pretext of checking if it's exactly 4.5 million, just to see if he's honest or not, the moment arrives to swap this stack of cash with their own cash, in which they placed a tracking device to know where he stores the money so they can go and steal it all. They actually do this, and the Duke doesn't suspect a thing for a single moment. As for his wife, whose name, by the way, is Genevieve, it happens to be her birthday tonight. She sees Berlin with Candela, calls out to him from afar, and they enter the bathroom together. And yes, this is a bathroom, not an apartment. A full 180 square meters with complete amenities. She asks him to steal all the paintings and she will facilitate the operation for him, because her husband loves them more than her. Of course, she is insulting Berlin by saying her husband has a morbid fixation on the paintings, but she threatens him. Berlin tries to plant another idea in her head. If everything occupies our loved ones away from us, we will get rid of it. I assume you know what you'll be then. It appears she doesn't care about his words. She flushes the toilet, which is a good 90 meters away from him, and walks out. Meanwhile, Damian learns from Kayla that the money has actually moved, and the location is in a basement under the Duke's church. It is also so deep that the network signal completely cut out. He returns to the palace as Berlin ordered him to save him from his predicament, only to find Genevieve waiting for him. She takes him quickly by the hand and proposes the idea that they pretend to have an affair to make her husband jealous.
Damian feels extremely tense. This woman wants to be in a relationship with him, and she's the Duke's wife, which means getting his head chopped off. He rushes to the bathroom and verifies the information about the basement's location that Kayla told him about. Right then, her lover calls her and tells her he is right in front of her. She looks out, sees him, and hangs up her phone completely. At Berlin's place, he sits with Damian and tells him she will now pretend you're in a relationship, so he suspects her. But when he searches for real, he won't find anything. What are you afraid of? During their conversation, the Duke and his wife arrive, and she keeps hitting on Damian the entire time. Suddenly, Damian discovers that he doesn't have the bag he came with. At that moment, his friend tells him, "How on earth could you lose an amount like that, man? We're talking about a bag containing more than 4 million euros. Damian tries to salvage his situation, explaining that it was crowded and he received a call, not to mention the Duke's wife, who refuses to leave him alone and keeps hinting at her admiration. But these excuses don't fly with Berlin, who tells him, "Figure it out and get the money back, just like you lost it. Wasn't there like more than 400 people at the party? Gather the entire guest list and look into every single suspect until you track down the money." After that, he leaves him and returns to the room to Candela, his lover. The shock is that he finds her pointing a gun at his face, while his bag is open and papers are scattered everywhere. She approaches him slowly, saying, "You're a thief, right? I was wondering what would make a guy like you go live with the Duke in the same house. You're going to steal the painting for him, aren't you?" The moment he confirms to her that he is indeed a thief, she finally takes a breath and feels like, "Well, brother, couldn't you have reassured me from the start? I thought you were going to cheat on me with the Duke's wife. In any case, don't be arrogant. Let me work with you, because I also have light fingers, and nobody ever notices me." Berlin gets annoyed, saying, "By the way, you've pried into the details of my life way too much. This bag is supposed to be private. So, currently, we have only one solution. I will walk out of the room and come back in, and at that moment, you will forget everything that happened and act completely normal." He actually walks out and comes back in, telling her, "Well, now you know everything about me, and I know nothing about you. So, how am I supposed to trust you?" She explains to him that these things don't come through words. "Just let yourself go, and you'll see for yourself that I deserve it." On the other hand, the whole team gathers to search for any thread that leads them to the money. Suddenly, Kayla approaches Roy, whispering, "I need you with me on an important errand, and I can't go alone." She drives her there herself, and we see her getting out next to him and knocking on a building door. The moment she sees Claudio in front of her, she asks him, "What exactly is your deal? Just because I dealt with you once, you follow me all this way? Are you stalking me or what? I already assured you that I'm taken." He clarifies the situation, saying, "Look, I'm not stalking you at all. I'm here for my work, because I've been working on my photo exhibition for over a year. If you want to check, you can come in and look around." At that moment, Keela completely forgets about Roy, who is waiting for her, her boyfriend, and the fact that she's even in a relationship. She stands mesmerized by every part of the place and the amount of experiences he went through in his life to take all these photos. Meanwhile, Damian gets a call from an unknown number. If you want the 4 million that was snatched from you at the last party, you better meet me at the Piatto Rose Garden. Most importantly, don't try to be clever and inform the police, because you'll lose the money and my trust in you. Alright? Bye. Naturally, Damian rushes to Bruce and says, if you had 4 million stolen from you, what do you think the thief would want in return to agree to give it back? Because I got a call, and the guy wants to meet me at a rose garden. Bruce refuses to go at all, but says, if you're determined, then I'm coming with you, because it's likely a trap and nothing more. Surely, they wouldn't pull off a move like this without Roy, but Roy himself is no longer free. When he looks through the window, he finds that the relationship has developed between her and Claudio, and they are on the verge of betrayal. He keeps knocking on their door, takes her aside, and reminds her that what she's doing won't end well. She feels like, are you doing all of this just for your friend? Besides, didn't you forgive Cameron, your old girlfriend, when she cheated on you? Is it okay for you and wrong for me? In any case, my feelings are conflicted, and I haven't decided what I want yet. So please, go ahead of me, and I'll follow you. At the end of the day, when Damian arrives at the garden and meets the thief, he is surprised to find that it's Genevieve, the Duke's wife. Strangely, she has painted an impossible love story scenario in her own head, saying, I thought you left the money bag on purpose so I could take it and get to see you again. But since I turned out to be delusional, you'll have to make an effort for me to return your money to you. But Damian has no interest in betrayal and explains to her that he wouldn't do this to the man he works for. On the other hand, when Roy and Bruce see that he is taking way too long, they storm the place with guns to check on him. He motions for them to stop because the matter turned out to be simple. When they return, Bruce is scared, feeling like, why don't you guys just drop this operation? Its drama has multiplied, and I'm fed out. Damian gets annoyed by his negativity, saying, it's clear that your toxic relationship with Keela has messed you up. In any case, as long as Berlin is not around, the decision is mine. So, let's get on with it until I think about what will be done. The moment Genevieve returns home, her husband notices that she is unusually happy, and suspects that she might be cheating on him. He goes to his assistant and asks him, is my wife doing something behind my back? I feel like there's someone in her life. Or let me tell you, she wants to make me suspect she's cheating so I start paying attention to her again. I understand these women's tricks very well. With a little love and a gift, everything will go back to how it was. Go ahead, finish up for them. Afterward, Damian goes to Berlin and is about to tell him what happened. But he is surprised to find that Candela knows everything and considers herself part of the team. He tries to ignore his friend's late onset adolescence and informs him that the money turned out to be with Genevieve, adding, plus, she intends to blackmail me into a relationship with her, and I have no interest in betrayal moves. Candela feels that Damian is an honorable man. As for Berlin, all he cares about is the 4 million, saying, well, all right, my friend. Since you can't handle it, leave this matter to me. At that moment, they print the exact same amount in counterfeit cash to swap it with the real money without anyone noticing a thing. Thus, nothing remains except to reach the location of the money. Candela tells them she is definitely keeping them in the garage because she has a black car that she doesn't let anyone ride in, not even her driver. Following that, Berlin gets a call from Cameron informing him, I boarded the Duke's yacht where they transport goods. After I caught one of the employees and tried to befriend her, we went out partying together, and there I slipped her 2 sleeping pills. The next day, I went to work in her place on the pretext that she was sick and sent me to cover for her. Berlin asks her to be very careful. Most importantly, encrypt all our names from the mobile phone so that if you get caught, the Duke won't suspect anything. The next day, the moment they arrive at the Duke's house, he and his wife receive them with the warmest welcome. He takes them to the office, from which they are supposed to work, and keeps showing them the antiquities he stole to brag in front of them. Berlin tries to hold back as much as he can, and the moment the Duke leaves and closes the door on them, Berlin asks them, how did you manage to control yourselves in front of this narcissistic human being who has gathered all the country's antiquities in his house? Keela motions for him to be quiet, until they at least make sure the place doesn't contain cameras or mics recording. On another note, Roy and Bruce walk around the palace to see the security present. At that time, Keela manages to take control of all the cameras in the house to monitor the situation from their end. Suddenly, she sees the Duke heading toward Roy and his friend. They stand in front of the painting, acting like, wow, what refined art. Strangely, the Duke buys into this act and enters into a discussion with them about art and its importance. At this time, Berlin exploits the opportunity and rushes down to the garage to take the money bag, placing the fake bag in its stead. Damian is very annoyed that the mission was completed successfully, saying, "Well, suppose the Duke's wife notices that the money was swapped." Berlin feels like, so what if she discovers it? Besides, these rich people don't audit their money. He then informs them that the next step is to enter the Duke's church because he is a religious man, so he definitely hides everything there. Keela offers, "I'll go with Bruce, but most importantly, we don't want mics. The small cameras are enough." This, of course, is because she wants to clear the air with her boyfriend, saying, "To be honest, I cheated on you with another guy." He isn't surprised at all, because Roy had told him what happened. Stranger yet, he asks her for a new chance, saying, "Because I discovered over time that my feelings toward you are real, and I don't want to waste all the memories between us for nothing." The moment they enter the church, they find its size is very small. Berlin confirms that a hidden entrance leads to the subterranean crypt. As for the lovebirds in the church, they forget why they even came in the first place, and the matter turns into a confrontation, with Keela telling him, "You were beautiful and everything, and I love you, but I love him too. It's not easy for a woman to find two good men." Berlin is forced to send Roy to them instead of them getting caught on their first day in the palace. When he finally reaches them, they snap out of the forbidden love vibe they are in, and use sensors to discover if there is any secret portal. Sure enough, Keela finds a small statue, and when she moves its hands from their place, they are surprised by a hatch opening from the floor. At that moment, Roy and Bruce go down themselves to see what is down there. The problem is that the hatch closes on them, and before Keela can open it again, she finds Berlin informing her that someone is entering the church right this second. She pretends she is sitting there praying, acting like, "My aunt died recently, so I feel very at peace in religious places." The Duke approaches her, sits next to her, and says, "You really need to pray, because your coming days will be dark. Do you think I didn't notice that you were the reason for what happened to my leg? Now get out of here right this instant." She takes her things and runs. As for him, he goes down into the crypt to check if any of them are there. But Roy and Bruce secure themselves, hanging from the ceiling until he finishes his round and exits. At that time, Bruce gets very anxious about Keela, saying, "Do you realize this is the same person who threw you into the river, and she hit him with the truck to help us? Since he made it all the way here, he must have done something to her." Roy reassures him that Berlin is monitoring the cameras, and it's impossible he would leave her, adding, "Plus, he realizes we are the Duke's guests, so it's impossible he would rashly touch us." Damian arrives and ends this debate, saying, "Keela is in the office with Berlin, so let's scan the place to explore what's behind that door over there." On another note, Keela sees the Duke entering the office, so they gather their things quickly so he doesn't suspect them. Before he asks about the rest of the team, Berlin engages him in conversation, saying, "Until now, we still haven't been able to determine the plan because, as you see, a painting this famous will have very strong security." The Duke buys it and exits. At this time, Berlin is certain that someone like him, as long as he came all this way to follow our work himself, definitely still doesn't trust us. Because of this, the only solution is to make a dazzling plan. Keela asks him, "Meaning a robbery plan but without actually robbing?" He replies, "Spot on. The important thing is that he feels we are making an effort for him." At the end of the day, they all gather for a formal dinner, wearing suits and looking sharp. Suddenly, and without any introduction, Bruce breaks the silence and says to Keela, "I know you're leaning toward another guy, and I propose that we all three go out together. Maybe this will help you determine your feelings." The Duke's wife feels that this talk aligns perfectly with her desires, thinking, "How sophisticated and beautiful you are." She passes the wine bottle to Damian because she printed a message on it for him in small handwriting. "Let's meet on the boat tomorrow at 7 o'clock. He is amazed by how she deals with this ease in front of her husband, knowing that if he catches them, they won't see another dawn. As soon as the dinner ends safely, Damian finally runs to his friend and recounts everything that happened. Berlin advises him, "The more you ignore her, the more drama she will make. So, what do you think about meeting her instead and seeing exactly where this goes? And if she really lacks affection, take her out or buy her ice cream." This, of course, has nothing to do with betrayal. Afterward, he drops by Candela's house and apologizes to her. "I came at a late hour, but I felt the day wouldn't end until I saw you." She tells him, "We aren't going to finish with this tape of hints. I feel like I'm falling for you more every day than the day before." Before he can return her confession with one of his own, the phone rings, interrupting their poetic moment. It's Cameron, saying, "There are updates because suddenly, midway, they claimed there was a malfunction in the yacht that will be resolved within 8 hours. They cleared the entire place and left nobody except the captain and a few passengers. When I kept pacing around the port, I saw them moving goods to the warehouse. Strangely, when I tried to discover what these bags were that were moved, I found bags of rice. I'll wait for things to calm down a bit, and then I'll open them and check for myself what's inside them." He reminds her that the most important thing is to take care, because she is alone there. At that point, he returns to Candela, saying, "I'm sorry for the moment I ruined, but remember, what would make me leave an important robbery operation like this and come all the way to you, except that I also fell for you?" At this time, Keela reviews the design they took for the room located inside the crypt, and discovers that it is a round vault made of platinum. Since he keeps all his money in it, it will certainly be at the highest level of security. Of course, someone with a twisted mind like the Duke, the minimum security he would implement is gas pumps. But the idea is, I can't determine the type of gas it might emit, though for sure it finishes off a person in a minute. Damian gets very discouraged, saying, "In this manner, it will be among the 7 impossibilities for us to enter inside. I'll go out to catch some fresh air. Maybe inspiration will hit, and I'll reach a solution or something." By chance, he sees a hanging painting of the Duke's wife. He stands before it, mesmerized by its beauty. Suddenly, he finds the Duke himself behind him, asking, "Does my wife appeal to you in some way or what?" Damian tries to improve the situation as much as he can, saying, "I just found myself having some insomnia, so I said I'd walk until I feel better." At that moment, the Duke takes him as a friend and shows him his horse stable. Not only that, they also spend the evening drinking and singing as if they've been friends for years. At that point, the matter expands, and they enter the church and go down to the crypt as well. The moment they stand before the secret hatch, the Duke explains to him the security system he made to brag about his capabilities. This hatch opens with a specific secret code. As for the main vault inside, it operates via iris scan. If a stranger enters and the scan doesn't recognize him, see all these gas pumps? They emit fire capable of melting human skin in less than a few seconds. Not only that, it keeps working, and after it shuts off, it refills and repeats all over again. Damian is so mesmerized by his way of thinking that he runs to Bruce, saying, "This man is a genius. It is among the 7 impossibilities for us to enter his vault."
Berlin gets a call from Cameron.
The last time we stopped at the port, a group of diplomats and important figures boarded with us, meaning the yacht won't be searched even once until it finally reaches its destination. As for the location of storing the goods, until now, I still haven't been able to discover it. But after I calculated the height of every room, I discovered there is a hidden cavity between the 2 floors. Berlin snaps her out of it. "If you're thinking of making a hole from your room to discover for yourself, don't you dare do that. I don't need to go into details, because every time you act out of your own head, you lose something big, just like when you went and cheated on the person you love. So please, realize this before it's too late and follow orders to the letter." She hangs up with him, very annoyed by his words. Afterward, he goes down to have breakfast with Candela, saying, "By the way, I noticed the books on palmistry and astrology you have in the room. What do you think about trying your luck with me? Because I'm entering a difficult operation and need to know how my luck looks." When she holds his hands, her expression flips because there is good news and bad news. The bad is that you are entering a major illness, and the good is that you will be able to recover from it. At that point, Damian calls him and recounts everything regarding the crypt room, hanging up on him completely with the conclusion that no matter what happens, they won't be able to cross from there, because the man is a genius, and it's impossible he would let anyone steal his money easily. Berlin gets angry because it's impossible for him to abandon this operation, adding, "Besides, I notice you admire him way too much. Has the friendship vibe he pulled on you made you forget our main reason for being here? So please, check yourself first, and after that we can finish our talk." Later, when he enters the restaurant to pay, he finds a woman standing next to him, asking, "Don't you remember me or what? I'm Camel. Now, like a good boy, come with me to the hotel, because I've prepared a surprise for you." Before he can even refuse, she pulls out the gun and puts it to his stomach, so he goes with her without making a scene. As for Damian, the reprimand words really work on him, and he proposes to them that they can use suits against the security, meaning they won't be affected by heat or fire. But of course, before that, we would need to test them practically. The moment Berlin arrives at the hotel with Camel, he forgets the gun pointed at his face, saying, "Miraculously, you are still beautiful as you were. Nothing changed except that you became a cop. She gets very surprised, asking, "Since you remember me so well, why did you break your promise to flee together and disappear completely?" He tries to explain to her, "I was imprisoned in a rural area in Colombia after the volcano erupted, so they canceled all travel flights." He pulls out his mobile to show her a picture and prove to her that he isn't lying, adding, "Moreover, I tried to book a travel ticket for you and left it with an employee in the restaurant to handle delivering it to you himself. But unfortunately, he turned out to be a scammer, took the money from me, and disappeared." She feels that since he exerted all this effort for her, why don't they revive the past and let water return to its streams? But he refuses because currently, he is a taken man. On another note, Bruce takes Keela's mobile and explains to her, "We must resolve our matters like any two adults. Because of this, I will call Claudio and set a date for us to have dinner together." She gets very tense, asking, "What are you doing? I thought you were joking." But Bruce ignores her completely and calls him to set a time. As for Damian, he goes to the boat to meet the Duke's wife. The moment he sees her, he is surprised that she managed to escape from her husband's assistant and come alone for real. Before she gets any hopes up, he tells her, "I love you, yes, but cheat on your husband? No. Because he is my friend and I also work for him, so my ethics don't allow me. Besides, to be honest, my first marriage ended in betrayal, so I'm not ready to be the cause of anyone getting hurt in the same way." But she tries in every way to convince him to give their relationship a chance. When he feels that he is about to weaken, he proposes to her, "What do you think about waiting until we finish the operation? At that time, I'll take you and we'll flee to another continent far away from your husband." She feels that his words are beautiful and everything, but asks for a chance to think. Let's return to Camel, because she too is trying to remind Berlin of all their memories together in hopes that he softens up. But unfortunately, Candela interrupts their trip down memory lane. He explains to her, "I'm not cheating on you, I swear. This is an old relationship that ended about 2 months before I met you, a sufficient period to move on." Candela asks him, "With exactly how many women are you in a relationship? I was sure our personalities are different from each other because you love the refined life, and I am completely the opposite. Every Friday I spend it on the farm with my father to gather the watermelon harvest. So please, I don't want to see your face again." At this time, Cameron executes the plan that Berlin insisted upon more than 15 times, warning her not to deviate so she doesn't go to hell. She lifts the mattress off the bed and makes a hole to go down from it and reach the secret warehouse. The next day, Berlin takes himself and goes to the farm to Candela, telling her in front of her family, "Are you sure I wasn't cheating on you? But you did all this just to flee from your feelings because you are attached to me way too much. But I am also attached to you, and I have no problem gathering the watermelon harvest with you on Friday." He pulls out a ring from his pocket to propose to her. She gets very happy and agrees. The next day, Berlin meets his dear friend Sergio, saying, "I certainly didn't bring you all this way for bad news. On the contrary, I decided to get married finally." Sergio asks him, "Excuse me, isn't this roughly the 4th marriage? And surely you just met her a few days ago but fell head over heels, right? In any case, congratulations, my friend."
On another note, the Duke's wife goes down to the office to Damien, being very angry, and informs him, "I thought about your offer, and I don't agree. It's not reasonable that I'll keep waiting all this time until my passion toward you ends. It's either now or never." As usual, he refuses her because of his principles. At this instant, the Duke enters upon them, saying, "It seems I came at an unsuitable time, or what?" His wife messes things up, saying, "It's good that you came because he was trying to harass me," and she walks away, leaving them to settle their matters together. The Duke goes crazy, tries to hold himself together as much as he can, and asks him, "Did this talk actually happen?" Damien assures him, "I can do any wrong thing in life except betraying my friend with whom we drank together from one bottle." At that point, the Duke believes him, but naturally warns him, "If you even think of looking at my wife with a mere glance, I will bury you myself in the crypt." When Berlin tells Sergio about the latest news, stating that he intends to double-cross the Duke and rob him instead of stealing the painting, Sergio explains to him that what he's doing carries a massive danger, because he won't leave you alone, except in one case. If you both come out winners, meaning he takes the painting and you take his money. So it becomes a win-win, but otherwise, you will live your entire life fleeing from him. Afterward, Cameron is about to go down to the warehouse via the hole she made, but she gets a call from Keela. "I am very tense because I'm going to meet Bruce and Claudio, and until now I still haven't been able to determine my feelings. What was your situation when you cheated on Roy?" Cameron is very affected, saying,
After I destroyed my relationship because of the third party who appeared suddenly, I discovered that I didn't love anyone, nor will I love anyone besides Roy. But it's too late for this talk now. The moment the two arrive, Bruce explains his point of view. Surely, I won't be open-minded to the extent that you hang out with the two of us. I just wanted to see him myself before I withdraw from this relationship permanently. Keela is surprised because she hadn't imagined that he could take a decision like this. At the end of the day, he bids her goodbye and walks away, leaving them. Here, Keela confirms that she too didn't love anyone but Bruce, nor will she love anyone else. Claudio respects her feelings and tells her, "All right, go to him." As for Cameron, when she finally reaches the location of the rice goods, she discovers that it is loaded with diamonds. She takes photos of them quickly and hides her mobile phone inside one of the bags to know exactly where they will deliver the goods. But the problem is that suddenly she hears the sound of someone entering. She gathers the goods off the floor, taps the bag shut, puts it back in its place quickly, and returns to her room. But unfortunately, security notices that the bag is open, and after less than an hour, she finds the yacht manager standing there knocking on the door, asking her, "Who are you and what do you want? Either answer, or I throw you into the water for the fish." She addresses him with utter honesty, saying she is a thief but works for herself, meaning neither does she have a team behind her, nor anything. Berlin convinces the Duke of a plan to fake the theft of a valuable painting on the Triana Bridge, using a replica, but his true motive is to exploit the Duke's absence to rob his money vault. While the plan is executed, the crew enters the burning crypt. Despite a suit malfunction that traps Bruce and Roy in the fire for 45 seconds and leaves Bruce severely injured, they successfully empty the vault and escape. Meanwhile, in a tragic turn of events, a yacht captain throws Cameron into the ocean. When the Duke returns, he is devastated to find his entire art collection and money vault completely cleared out, leaving only the replica painting. Berlin calls and blackmails him with audio and video recordings of their deal to ensure his silence, right before the Duke discovers his wife has also abandoned him to run away with the crew. While celebrating their success, the team sees the news that Cameron's body was found on the beach, leaving Roy heartbroken as he listens to a final apology message she left him. In the end, Berlin returns all the stolen paintings to their original museum and happily marries Candela.